Is that supper?
Maybe.
Linda, you're safe. As soon as you speak up, say something. Match the tone. Keep it clean.
I'd like to welcome everyone to this April 16th meeting of the City of Charleston Planning Commission. My name is Charlie Karras. I'm the chairman. I'm joined by Vice Chairman Harry Hussein. To my left, Mr. Bart Jackson and Steve Hirsch, Sunday Lephasis, Peter Brian Jenkins, and Mr. Hussein, myself. I should know your name. I do know it. Jimmy Bailey, and McKenna Joyce. These folks are volunteers appointed by Charleston City Council, and I know you join me in thanking them for their work. The way we'll run the meeting tonight is I'll read an item from the agenda into the record. Then we'll hear from staff. We'll hear from the applicant. Then we'll hear from anyone that's in support of the application, anyone who may have some concerns. Then we'll let the applicant answer any concerns that were brought up. After that, we'll close the public hearing and we'll discuss it and vote amongst us. If you get up to speak tonight, I'd ask you to come to the podium, tell us who you are, and if you represent someone, and when you're ready. If you have a cell phone, I ask you to turn that off. Before we get started, I want to recognize Mayor Tecklenburg, who's here. It's always an honor to have you with us. Also, I think I'm asking Mr. Hussein to help me. I think we have a couple of council members that are here. I know Ms. Jackson, and who else?
Former councilman James Lewis.
And Mr. Lewis. So thank you all for being here. It's always an honor to have you folks. And thank you for your service to the city. Mr. Morgan, would you let us know? Thank you. Mr. Morgan, would you let us know if we have any other changes agenda and introduce any staff that will be participating?
Sure. So my name is Christopher Morgan, Planning Manager here at the City of Charleston. Also with us tonight, Amanda Cox, our planner who works with the Planning Commission, and Anna Hart from our Zoning Division, and Molly Connor, who is our Annexation Planner here, and then our clerk, who is Jasmine O'Neill. We have one deferral tonight, which is 1819 and 1821 Folly Road. That will not be heard tonight. It's been deferred. And then we also have other things on the agenda that are deferred as well. I'm sorry, not one, several deferrals. 51 Wentworth, which is deferred, and then 2880 Ashley River Road, which is deferred.
Okay, thank you, sir. Before we get started, I'd like, I asked Mayor Tecklenburg if he'd say we had an unfortunate passing of Dale Morris, who was very valuable to the city. I'd ask Mayor Tecklenburg if he'd be willing to say a couple words about Dale, and after that, we'll do a moment of silence in his honor.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I bet most of you knew Dale Morris. If you didn't, you really missed knowing someone who was quite remarkable. And Charleston was truly blessed to have Dale come and provide his expertise and his ability to bring people together and collaborate as he did when he founded the Dutch Dialogues and engaged to have one of the sessions here in Charleston. So Dale had worked for the Dutch Embassy and the Water Institute of the Gulf and these kind of institutional bodies, and he really wanted to get his hands wet, pun intended, in helping a local community that he saw a challenge, help them figure it out. And he chose us. He chose us. He saw Charleston as a place where his knowledge and ability could truly make a difference, and it did. But beyond the expertise of this man, there was the human side. He was such a special guy. He was so warm and caring and loving and friendly. I mean, you couldn't help but get along with him, even if you didn't agree with him all the time. He was just a wonderful human being. It's a tragic loss for his family and his many friends and for this community.
Thank you, Mayor Tecklenburg. So we'll have a moment of silence in honor and a memory of Dale. Thank you all. Thank you again, Mayor Tech. First item on the agenda is the minutes. Everybody's read them over. Is there a motion or concern?
So moved.
Ms. Hussein moves to approve both sets of minutes, I believe.
I'll second.
Second by Kenna Joyce. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Obviously, as we said, rezoning number 1 is deferred. Number 2 is 126 Romney Street, Peninsula TMS number 46312031111, 0.18 acres. It is request for zone from DR1, first residential limit business. Mr. Morgan?
Thank you. We're doing a little bit different format tonight because our Zoom, if you all hadn't heard, Zoom has a major outage. And so we're going with different systems tonight, although we are live on YouTube as per normal. But anyway, so I'm gonna be looking up here instead of at a computer screen. So hope my glasses work well. So this is 126 Romney Street. The property's highlighted right here. Romney Street is running east and west in this location. I-26 is a couple hundred feet to the east. There's an old railroad right-of-way that traverses through here that still is identified with the arcing traverse through the area here, although the railroad is long gone. The area is a real mix of different uses. Commercial zonings along King Street. We have the Charleston area mosque is here. We've got older structures that have been converted into offices. We have some housing authority, residential that's here on property that's zoned general business. We have some older churches in through here, as well as a limited business parcel up against what will be the future low line here. I know these are commercially owned parcels, even though they are not commercially zoned. We've got a warehouse complex that's back here that I would imagine as time goes by and the low line is developed over the next couple of years, this may convert to different types of uses back here. And then of course, this old railroad right of way is general business, and that immediately touches to the rear, the subject property. And again, the request is to go from DR1F, which is the same zoning as the other parcels, to limited business. The limited business would have the exact same residential densities as the DR1F. It just would have the allowance for commercial uses as well. Commercial uses would be limited in operation for 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. So it's more of a neighborhood compatible zoning. And we do already have some limited business, as I said, right here on Romney in this location here. Then we'll go into some pictures and give you a sense of it. Also, this is our kind of chart that shows all the differences between DR1F, which is of course single family and 2-family and multifamily, to limited business, which offers a whole range of office uses, retail uses. It's not a type of zoning for like a late night bar because the establishments have to close at 11 p.m. So it seemed like something from a staff standpoint that was compatible here, and I'll go into that a little bit more in a minute. Here's an aerial photo. The property is vacant. Immediately to the east is a property that had a fire a number of years ago that has been marked as no entry by the fire department. It has not been improved since that fire. It's in pretty tough shape. Then we've got some residences further to the east, a couple of residences to the west. There's a new residence going in here that you'll see in the imagery. So there is some redevelopment happening. Then a couple of churches over here and some residential uses to the south as well. Some images from the street. The subject property is right here on the left. Here is the building that had the fire that is not occupied now. And then two other residences there. There's the overpasses, which are kind of looming in the distance here from I-26. This is looking across the street here. And then this is looking to the west of the property. Here you see our zoning sign, the vacant site. This is a new residence under construction to the rear. And then this is a residential structure that's fairly historic in this location here. And again, close up on the property that is the subject property with the new residence going on to the rear on the adjoining property, and a look from the front of the site to I-26 to the east. In our comprehensive plan, this entire block was shown as what we call our city centers. That's our most intense category. And if you'll notice, the entire area along King and Meeting, as you go up and down the peninsula, was in this category for a variety of reasons. One, it's some of the highest and best land on the peninsula to develop on because of its elevation. It also has the most access to transportation uses. On Meeting Street to the east will be the Low Country Rapid Transit, which will be our bus rapid transit, the most efficient system of mass transit that we'll have in the entire region. There also are bus routes on King Street as well. That's why the comprehensive plan recommends for all this area to go into that city centers. City centers would thereby endorse the idea of a limited business zoning on the site. And that is our overall background on the site. Staff is recommending for approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Is the applicant with us?
I'm Robbie Marty, I'm representing the applicant.
Would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. As I said, my name is Robbie Marty, and I'm here representing Tyler Smith, who is the owner of 126 Romney Street. So I'd like to start with establishing where Romney is as sort of a street. Romney and Hugie Streets are the two sort of main connector streets that go between Meeting Street and King Street. And the fact of this geography makes Romney a little bit busier than your typical residential street. I did a little bit of research into, as Christopher Morgan mentioned, the history of the uses on Romney, and Romney historically has had a diverse set of uses, from single-family residential to multifamily residential, and then light business uses, such as this particular lot that had a multifamily building on it, and then from a period of time in the early 80s, throughout the 80s and then the early 90s, the property was used as a barbershop. As Mr. Morgan mentioned, there are other business uses, and if you look back to the Sanborn maps, historically, this street has had a mix of commercial and residential uses. Mr. Smith approached the neighborhood because he felt like the communication is one of the most important things, and also understands how livability in a neighborhood is also important. He took 2 occasions to speak with the neighborhood group and answer their questions and clarify his intentions about what he wanted to do with this lot, and received support from the neighborhood group. One of the primary things that is at sort of issue with this change is parking. He understands how important parking is and how much it can impact a neighborhood, and so as it is an empty lot at this time, the limited business use would allow him to be able to further relieve a parking, which is for a property at 1091 King Street that he is currently vacant and has been for many years, and he is looking to revitalize that property. And in order to relieve the parking burden from that particular property, would like to be able to utilize this lot for parking. The longer term plan that Mr. Smith has for this property is to place a small commercial building on the front side of the property and maintain parking in the rear. It is our understanding that there's a city plan to provide parking under 26 as part of the low line where there would be paid parking available. So again, even if a building is placed at 126 Romney Street, at that point in the future, there would be parking under 26 that would then, continue to sort of relieve the parking issue, not shoving it into the neighborhood streets, which is something that I believe should be avoided at all costs. Just the limited business zoning is a designation that is made for neighborhood properties, and as this is a diverse street, we feel like this is an appropriate change and would continue to enhance the diversity of the neighborhood. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Would anyone like to speak on behalf of this application in favor? Anyone in opposition to the application? Don't see a hand? No?
That's Mr. Lewis.
Come on up. Mr. Lewis, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you.
Always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm with New Earth Rose Church. We own the property at 1091 King Street, and the only where we can sell that particular building that we have on that corner has been empty, vacant for about 15 years. Is this gentleman will be able to provide parking spaces on this particular lot, and we are in support of it. I was at both neighborhood meetings also, and they were in support of it. I certainly would ask this commission to approve. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Lewis. So you're in support, that's wonderful. Anyone else in support? Anyone in opposition? Anyone in opposition? If you're in opposition, come on up, please. Tell us who you are, where you live, and if you represent anyone. Thank you.
I'm Heidi, and I own the property
All right,
at
can you give us your last name just for the record?
Brown.
Thank you.
And I own the property at 128 Romney Street. And to the left of this vacant lot. And the first I was aware of this situation was yesterday afternoon when a sign showed up on the property. So no one has reached out to me to talk about what was going on, and the city website was down yesterday, so it was very difficult to find out what was going on with this piece of property. But this is a DR1F neighborhood. This is a neighborhood with almost all residential homes. And although I appreciate the city pointing out the limited businesses that are located on King Street and on Meeting Street, and this old railroad track in the back, which is limited business, it's strictly a driveway to a piece of property there. But this area is part of an opportunity zone area. And over the last 8 or 9 years, there have been a lot of people there who have invested in this neighborhood and spent considerable time and money to bring this property up so it has become again a viable residential neighborhood. And now to take one small lot in the middle of a residential area and upzone it 3 or 4 times to limited business is just the antithesis of what the city has said they wanted to do. I'm on my tiptoes, I'm sorry,
It's all right.
I can't see this. There is, the city's goal up here from their website says to protect the character and livability of existing neighborhoods. And it seems to me that this piece of property in the middle of a neighborhood is going to be converted to a parking lot to accommodate a building in a general business area not in that neighborhood is just ill-suited for that neighborhood. Now, I know that the town has done some Upper Peninsula new zoning and districts, but that district is to the east of I-26 and north of UG, and this is west of I-26. And along with this, it is a busy street. There will be a considerable amount of traffic coming in and out of this piece of property right in the middle of a residential area, if in fact it is going to be a parking lot, because as I said, the first I heard of this was yesterday, no one's reached out. So I strongly urge you to consider disapproving this request because it is inappropriate for the area and what this city says they're trying to do to maintain the livability of the
Thank you.
neighborhoods.
Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Anyone else in opposition? Come on up, Sam.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Pastor Carolyn Broughton. We are a small faith-based community church. We have been there 25 years, and I agree along with Ms. Heidi Brown. Never had the opportunity to meet her, but we have the opportunity to get involved with the community. We have been there 25 years. This past Christmas, we fed over 225 children. We gave away toys to about 10 families. We had children coming into the church, and we're right across the street from 126 on Romney Street. And so the busyness of the community and where we're at now, I believe that it would jeopardize what we're doing, the heart of the community. We love the community. So I think this change, and we just found out about this, no one spoke to us. and we're just finding out about that. So forgive me, I'm speaking from the heart, but I think this change would not help us, but it would hurt us and the purpose and what we have been doing for 25 years. And that's the heartbeat of the community and the residents and our elderly people.
Thank you for coming out
the
tonight.
opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition? Sir, come on up.
Seth Fisher, I'm also owner of the property next door, 128 Romney Street. And I think it will affect our property, putting a lot of effort in revitalizing it, putting money in. It is an opportunity zone, so that's why we invested in it. We went in front of zoning and we were told we couldn't. We wanted to put 2 small houses. We just needed a small variance. We got a lot of letters from neighbors. They were in support. This property, the owner, 126, he was against what we wanted to do. He didn't help us in any manner. And we were told that what we wanted to do was out of character. So we didn't go for a zoning change. We stayed within what we were allowed to do. And I don't think he should get the change, because there's other houses that are, like you said, it's gonna open up a can of worms. Other people are gonna ask for the same thing. Why shouldn't they get it? It's gonna change the whole neighborhood. I'm opposed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming out. Anyone else in opposition? Anyone else in opposition? Mr. Moore, go ahead, sir. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Dimitri Wright. I've lived on 120 Romney Street on and off since 2003. I've seen the way this neighborhood is changing. My mother's also been living in this neighborhood her entire life. We've been in this neighborhood for about 4 generations. And just as previously stated, putting a business smack dab in the middle of a street like that particular block of Romney Street would be detrimental to the entirety of the street. There's already too much traffic going through. Bringing in businesses, not only that business, but any other potential businesses that might want to open on that block would bring in more traffic. It would just cause more noise for the residents of Romney Street. And I sent in a petition yesterday.
We're gonna mention that. We're gonna mention that in just a second. You go ahead.
I'm the one who sent in the petition and also sent in the letter that my mother wrote. She can't be here today. I'm just vehemently opposed to any sort of business on that particular block.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming out. Anyone else in opposition? Anyone else in opposition? Mr. Morgan, would you surmise, we got a couple of comments and also some petitions, would you kind of surmise those things for us, for the record?
So yes, there was a petition that came in with, I believe it was 32 signatures from different folks in the area with concern about the rezoning request. Just to clarify, the property was posted in the right amount of time frame. It was posted last week. Because I think some folks have been using the subject property illegally for parking, it got knocked down. I actually, as soon as we heard that, I went and put another sign back up on it myself yesterday, so.
Any other comments?
Well, the neighborhood association sent a letter, and I think you all have a copy of that too, where they're indicating that the neighborhood association was unanimously in favor of this. And they also say, this is a little bit unusual for a neighborhood association letter, it says, the initial presentation on March 18th, followed by a special review committee on April 8th to discuss and vote on the matter. North Carolina, the North Central Neighborhood Association hand-delivered written notice of the review committee to approximately 20 directly impacted properties and raised neighborhood awareness through our email newsletter. And it says the ballots were distributed, the results were unanimously in favor of granting this rezoning request. So that was the neighborhood association there. And then on your comment sheet, we have folks,
We heard from Ms. Brown.
Stephen Rosenberg, we started to that, then Ms. Wright at 120, and her concerns about the rezoning there. And then we have the petition that her family submitted, and then Heidi Brown, who has already spoken tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Ward. Would the applicant like to address any concerns that were brought up, or respond?
I would,
Thank
thank
you.
you. So there are two sort of separate things that I would like to discuss. First is the change to the limited business use, and to emphasize that the limited business designation by the city of Charleston is specifically meant for this type of neighborhood use. To quote the city of Charleston zoning ordinance, the limited business district is intended to provide for a limited variety of commercial uses and services associated with neighborhood retail, financial, and office activities which are compatible with residential areas. The office of operation for most permitted commercial uses are restricted between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. Gasoline stations are permitted on conditional use. Prohibited uses include, but are not limited to, bars, liquor stores, car washes as a principal use, bowling alleys, billiard parlors, dance halls, restaurants with drive-through service windows, and automobile sales. Then further, I would like to emphasize that the height district in which this property is located is a 2.5-story height district. So any business that would be placed on this property as a limited business intention would be to be compatible and to enhance the use of the residential neighborhood. Then to address the parking, while we're proposing to use this property as parking for a limited time now, we also understand that parking is one of the biggest issues in the neighborhood, that most residents, if they don't have a parking space within their particular property, would like to park on the street directly in front of their homes. And so to be able to shift parking off of the street and onto a piece of property in an appropriate, well-designed manner on a street that is busy and doesn't need a lot of parallel parking, we feel like this use is appropriate.
Great, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That's gonna close the public aspect of this item. Commission members, questions, comments, motions? Mr. Bailey? Go ahead, Ms. Bryant.
Thank you, Chair. I had the opportunity to be at the March 18th meeting and at the April 8th meeting where Mr. Tyler did present the project. And it was well attended on the 18th. However, on that special review committee meeting, it was not well attended by the residents that will be directly affected by this rezoning. And I gathered from that meeting that there was a couple of individuals, one in opposition and one that was favoring the project. The family that was opposing the project gave a lot of valid reasons. And I'm not making a motion at this time, but I just wanted to comment. Here today, we have before us a petition where there are a number of residents directly in the area that are in opposition of this project. And the majority of the people that were there at the special review meeting were just board members of North Central Neighborhood Association. So it did not, whatever type of communication went out to those residents, somewhere, somehow, something failed. And we try not to get into spot zoning because that just moving forward does not create something that this board has unanimously wanted to get into. And I just wanted to hear from the other commissioners before I make a motion. If I make a motion, I did not vote at that April 8th meeting, that special review meeting. I did let Mr. Tyler know that I was a planning commissioner and that this would be coming before us and that I value my colleagues' opinion on the matter. But again, I'm kind of conflicted with the fact that this letter states from the Mr. Rosenberg, the president of North Central, that it states that they did all of this, but there's no supporting documents, whereas those that were in opposition, they have a petition here and readily available for us to see. So I just would like to hear from the other commissioners before I actually say anything.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey?
Well, I appreciate hearing from Ms. Bryant Jenkins as well as the folks who spoke here tonight. That said, I think about four things that give me some comfort, but I won't make a motion either until others have spoken. But first of all, I'm somewhat swayed by the staff's presentation about the neighborhood context there. This was my neighborhood roughly for about 20 years. I drove Romney Street a lot. And it seems like there already are a collection of churches, businesses, houses, very kind of mixed use. And in my mind, the limited business really just unlocks a little bit of optionality on this piece of property as the neighborhood continues to evolve. I mean, you could still end up putting a house there if that ultimately makes the most sense for the owner. But it seems rather mixed already. I certainly was swayed by the neighborhood association support and Councilmember Lewis's comments, but your points are well taken too. I'm also swayed by the idea that this does provide a great opportunity to take that King Street property and do something really good with it. That has been sitting for a very, very long time. And it would be great to see that property revitalized. And then lastly, and I understand that zoning goes with the property, not the owner, but Mr. Smith has lived and worked in this area for 20 plus years. This is his neighborhood. And that gives me some comfort as well.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Other questions, comments? Ms. Levinson?
So,
Go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I kind of have an opposite opinion, really. I mean, I think that you can take zoning and you can take the words out of limited business and you can pull out the words that were pulled out and making it compatible with the neighborhood. But it's a very intense zoning. Limited business is intense. And to me, the neighbors who were directly affected by this, and you could just look at it, and I don't ever understand how that was put in the city center. I mean, to me, that just knocks every single neighborhood and every single occupant and resident out of their residences. And to me, if you just look at that, and you see LD right there, that's spot zoning. There's no other way around it. So I'm listening to y'all too, and I do not have, but I'm leaning more towards not approving it because it looks to me to be affecting the neighborhood, and they want to keep their neighborhood the way it is, and I certainly understand that.
Thank you, Ms. Levinson. Ms. Harris?
I guess I see the spot zoning issue differently, but because one issue I have is the fact that you do, if being down there all the time, right? I mean, Ms. Bryant Jenkins down there, you were all there at some point in time during the week. And we know that there's a significant amount of commercial activity that happens directly there. And also, especially because physically it is touching another parcel that is zoned commercial. Now, I will tell you, even though the context of the word is limited business, and how one can do that, Robbie's really right about the height issue. There's only so much you can put on this particular parcel, and also if the other ones stay residential, and obviously we don't know because we don't know what's gonna happen next month or the month after that. All of that also has to step back between 3 to 10 feet on each side. So even whatever is built there is going to contextually never be something that you would see at the end of on Lockwood Drive. So it would have to consistently be compatible. And even I think, yeah, so, and then most of the, and also those homes that are there as well that are located there, if they're older than 50 years old, they still have to go through even the process of BAR. And TR, so I think the thing is that contextually, the zoning, I think, is appropriate there. And I can see how there would be this, a mix, and why we, as planning commissioners back in, 2020 said that this was a part of our city center zoning. And because that is, people wanted that walkability, and we wanted to give them the opportunity to have those options. And so, I mean, right there, I think if I'm not mistaken, at that corner, that's where the Great Wall of, I think that's where the restaurant is. And so you're having that, so that activity's there, what is it? I know that there's another one over there near Simon Street, which has, well, it used to be where the old Chronicle newspaper is located. So contextually, what I remember before there was an opportunity zone, and contextually what I remember currently today, there is that activity level.
Other commission members?
Question,
Mr.
Mr.
Jackson?
Morgan, I don't know if we keep any records, but I feel it, in my appraisal world, in 30 years of appraising, that was always a cut through for me. And then all of a sudden, when it became an opportunity zone, all of a sudden now I'm doing work on Romney Street. Isn't that now a heavily short-term rental location?
Not to my knowledge.
Not really?
Not
Okay,
to-
because
there is
I
a
did
new-
two.
There is a new apartment building at the corner of Romney and Meeting. I think about 30 units are in that. That was built in the last 5 years. There is, you all had a rezoning, before commission and then later council, probably 4 or 5 years ago for a interior design firm just on the other side of I-26. That was zoned to a commercial designation, a residential office over there. It was an old Freedman's Cottage that became an interior design firm there. And we are seeing a good bit of redevelopment going on. Of course, the old Chronicle offices have been sold. Those have become new businesses there. There is a new restaurant that's going in here at the corner of Poplar and King. And then, of course, this is commercial. While it's not zoned commercially, it is a de facto commercial operation. They're warehousing, woodworking, things like that. And with its location on the low line, as I was saying earlier, I would imagine that will have commercial uses associated with the low line at some point in the future. And it is immediately adjacent to this parcel as well.
I mean, I'm kind of 50-50 on this. I think that if this goes, they better prepare for that whole block to be limited business. Because we have cut throughs all up and down the spine between Meeting Street and King Street, mainly coming south over the years. And the city is going north, and this is in the spine. So I can see this again, but from King to Meeting, but right now it's protected as residential. And those who have gone into that opportunity zone to purchase on that street where many wouldn't, have now tried to create their own neighborhood. And if we decide for that chunk to change, I think that gives anybody else precedent to come in and say, okay, well, I want to do limited business too. And again, I'm gonna cut it off there, but that's just my thought on this. I'm not sure
Thank
which
you,
way
Mr.
to go.
Mr. Hussain?
Mr. Morgan, this might be a stupid question. How many cars could legally park on there without the zoning change?
I mean, if you had residential uses, you could have the parking for the residential on the property, as many cars as you could fit there potentially.
But as a vacant property as it sits now?
You could not use it for commercial parking right now. And that's why the rezoning would be necessary. Yeah.
And Chris, Mr. Smith did share with us that his intention, and Ms. Marty, let me know if I'm speaking incorrectly, was to put an executive office space where he would stack parking, 18 spaces. Is that the plan for that space?
My understanding is that the long-term plan is to build a small sort of office building at the front part of the property and then have parking in the back portion of the property.
Stack parking, is it the stack parking like the parking that's next to the church where, on the corner of Romney, where New Israel Church building is?
You may be correct. He and I did not specifically speak of that.
Okay. like one car and like one car, well, if it's like an executive office, if someone arrives, like, you know, they only work in the same space, they would park behind one another. That's what.
If I could clarify, if he's gonna use it for parking for another use like that property at 1090 that's been discussed, he would have to meet our parking standards. There'd have to be a drive aisle. It wouldn't be able to be parking behind one another. It would
Okay.
have to meet our standard city spaces
Okay.
on the site and have a drive lane. It
Okay.
might be one way, like going from Romney Street out to the street to the north, but it would have to have a drive lane and meet our city standards.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Any other comments, questions, motions, commission members? Sounds like we're at a standstill here.
I'll make the motion if it fails, it fails.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Harris?
I'll make a motion for approval.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Harrison.
I'll second.
Second, there's a motion by Ms. Harrison, second by Mr. Bailey. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye or raising your hand. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Four in favor. Anyone in opposition? Five in opposition. So the application is denied by a vote of 5 to 4. Thank you. Thank you all for coming out. We appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is item number 3 under rezoning, 529, 537 Meeting Street, Peninsula TMS number 459 0501 011, 459 05 01 018, Council District 4, 1.002 acres, request rezone to accommodations overlay. Mr. Morgan?
And this again is a request to add this property to our accommodations overlay. That would then allow it to be used for accommodations uses pending a special exception granted by the Board of Appeals that would look at issues like parking, access points, how the hotel would function, that kind of thing. So this would be the first step on the path to creating a hotel on the properties. The subject property is along Meeting Street, as the address implies, and it's across the street from a new student housing facility here on the north side of Lee Street. There are other parcels in the surrounding area that are also mixed use, such as the, I believe this is 511 Meeting is the address and the name of the housing development there. There also is a accommodations use that is approved for across the street here. They have not done their special exception process, but there is an accommodations use approved there, and the new affordable housing that's owned by the housing authorities in this location here.
Name for Mr. Lewis.
Yeah, it's the next block down, yes. This is I'm trying to remember the name of this one because I never forget Mr. Lewis's complex, but this one has a different name that I'm forgetting at the moment. But anyway, yes. And then the housing authority has their offices right here at Jackson and Meeting Street as well. So got a lot of housing, some mixed use going on in the area, and some future accommodations, as I mentioned, potentially at that site that's right off the Meeting Street off-ramp. So accommodations overlay, this just explains how you have to go through the process, get a special exception, all that, and that process. And of course, the city is very particular about how those special exceptions are granted. Looking at the aerial of the property, these are older structures. I think one of them is currently used as the Hope Center at present. The property backs up to Walnut Street, and we'll have some images of it in just a minute from the street. And again, the newer buildings that are across the way. And just to the north, I failed to mention this, is the Housing Authority's maintenance facility there. This building here is a new mini storage facility that I'll brag on our city approval process. I don't think anybody would realize that that is a storage facility. It's a very handsome building there, and yet it's a storage facility there. So anyway, so in our comprehensive plan, it's in the city centers, as we were just talking with the previous case about how those corridors of Meeting and King are some of our most prime land because of the high elevation, because of the good service of public transportation. So you've got that. So this is an image of the accommodations overlay at present in the city. The subject property is outlined in green here. Everything that is in red is in the accommodations overlay. That doesn't necessarily mean there's a hotel on each property, but they are eligible to apply to have a hotel on them. There are certain areas that have restrictions to 50 rooms or less. As you get further north in the city, those restrictions are not in place, but these are where the accommodations overlay zones exist at present in the city. And we can certainly go back to this map if you all want to look at this in more detail in a minute. We have a couple other maps to show. So to zoom into this site is you see where existing accommodations uses are, which are also shown in red here. And then there are other fully entitled accommodations uses on this map as well. And those fully entitled accommodations uses are shown in the blue. This is a 1/2 mile radius, about a 10-minute walk from this property in all directions. Within a 1/2 mile radius of this property are 1,896 entitled accommodations uses. So that means that they already have been through that special exception process and been granted all the particulars. In most instances, they've been through BAR or making their process through BAR. I'm happy to go and outline some of the different parcels in this area to give you a sense of where they are. But it's a lot of facilities for accommodations in this area of the city. I think from our standpoint, from a staff standpoint, we've got a lot of concern with an accommodations use here because of all the hotels that are pending by virtue of these entitlements. And we feel like we need to do more analysis, and our peninsula plan may be an opportunity to do that. Of course, we're kind of recalibrating that peninsula plan as we've been mentioning, and we'll be working on that and coming back to you all about some approaches in that. But I sense that the peninsula plan will be looking more at tourism and accommodations uses than had originally been planned. And partly because we've got so many that are pending in the city that are already entitled. And that's the reason that the staff is not recommending for this request. We also are very concerned because we've had other property owners in this nearby area, I won't get into proprietarial information, but that have come to us with similar circumstances on Meeting Street, asking for support from staff for an accommodations use, and we've said we would not support those because of those same concerns that we have. So we feel very strongly that this is a major precedent-setting request that will lead to other accommodations uses in the nearby area should it be granted. And with that, I think I've covered the things that I was going to, and that is our position.
You're in opposition, is that?
Staff recommends disapproval. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Is the applicant with us?
Yes,
Mr. Roberts? Yes, sir.
Pardon the ask, my sister's coming tomorrow and she's immunocompromised. And
Okay. No, you're fine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. This is a rare point of departure from the planning staff and from JJR's position. We rarely have any daylight between how we operate, but friends sometimes disagree. For a great many commission members who know me for decades, my company has been a great contributor to the fabric of Charleston, and we have won many awards, not only from the city itself, but the preservation community. We team up on city projects, even step up to do affordable housing when asked, finishing ahead of schedule and often under budget on projects that had been stalled with the administration for years. Having been trained early by Mayor Riley, Mr. Lassane's old boss, we have always civically acted in a holistic paradigm and created great accomplishments in the built environment citywide. We would never attempt a mercenary endeavor that we did not feel was good and right. In what we do, the city at large has always benefited, staying true to the guiding principles instilled in me early by Mayor Riley. Charleston is a living, breathing city, so I understand trying to manage hotel growth. What that means, a de facto moratorium on the expansion of the accommodations overlay is actually casting an overly wide net. When you cast such a wide net, the unintended consequence is that you catch an endangered species in that overly wide net. We are the endangered species that do not fit the mold of the teams that should, we do not fit the mold of teams that should be specifically restricted on this very unique parcel. In the past, granting an accommodations overlay was a convenient way to add a landowner's property value, with a great many likely never to be built. I think an appropriate analogy would be somebody reserving 4 pool chairs at 7:30 in the morning by putting magazines on them, going to breakfast, and then deciding to go on a day trip, and those pool chairs will never get used. Now they put timers on the pool chairs, and you can get your magazines at the Lost and Found an hour later. This site we are talking about has extraordinary and exceptional conditions, and also extraordinary, exceptional challenges when you look at the pictures. We are uniquely able to address those challenges as a group and actually build a magnificent hotel which will create beauty where blight currently exists. This is not a land play, as so many others have been. Just for a moment, I'd like my colleague Patrick Head to show you some additional slides of the city center to put this into context.
Look at the slides.
Oh, you have them. Yeah, great. And we've got slides digitally, and then we also brought these because it might be easier to read. Thank you, sir. Okay, so I just want to go over a few of the slides. My name is Patrick Head at JGR. On this slide, this shows the immediate area of the site. The site is located sort of centrally at the gate, adjacent to the highway, in the turquoise color with the little red site on it. This map goes from Mary Street up to the bridge on-ramp for Ravenel and Meeting Street. And what you can see in this slide is the blue sites are all apartment buildings or proposed apartment buildings. The red are the existing hotels, the lighter red are the proposed hotels, and then all of that yellow is either owned by the housing authority, or it's all owned by the housing authority, or it's affordable housing. So predominantly on this corridor, you've got housing, apartments, or affordable housing. And then the accommodations overlay zone, you can see, is that gray patch. I left some of it off at the bottom so you get an idea of what it looked like, and it goes across up towards Meeting Street and ends about 200 feet from this site on the existing multifamily right at Walnut and Meeting Street. Next slide. This is the site of the Homewood Suites that exists now. The owner of the Homewood Suites, who will be the owner of this project, they worked with the Burris Liquor Store to rebuild a new modern liquor store, modern building across the street, and replace it with the Homewood Suites that exist there now. Next slide. There's some photos of the Homewood Suites as it exists today. And then next slide. And then adjacent to the Homewood Suites is the Holiday Inn at the next corner. It's currently under renovation, for the next slide, to be a live oak tribute property. The family is spending about $35 million on the upfit and completely redoing their existing hotel. Next slide. These are some photos of the site in question. You've got Cobleston's dry cleaner, and then the building to the left, sort of behind those trees in the upper right, is the one-story building that's currently being used as the Hope Center. Adjacent to that is a non-renovated residential structure, and out of frame of that view is the restaurant, the Palace Hotel restaurant. Next slide. And then these are just some aerial images to kind of give you an idea of the context. You can see there are many large apartment buildings along this stretch of Meeting Street, and I think in the top right corner, that white building is also a hotel. And behind that is the ghost storage facility that Mr. Morgan was referring to. The Route 17, Route 26 highway behind, and then in that green space, you can see the future proposed area of that low-line park. I'm gonna leave it there, there's more slides, but Mr. Gatter will review those. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
As will be explained soon by Andy Gatter, who jumped the gun for a second. The city's comprehensive plan encourages diversity and a mix of uses, especially at this location. So many out-of-town people come to Charleston who do not have a vested civic interest we do and attempt to create syndicated, mediocre, marginal projects, then leave. After that, the properties get traded with the velocity of stocks on Wall Street. When I mentioned endangered species before, we are 180 degrees different. We are developing this property with Anish and Anna Patel, your father and cousins, part of a generational family that has a rich history of excellence and sensitivity here in our great city. This project is a generational family investment that will be owned and managed long-term within the family and not flipped around to the highest bidder of the week. For some background, the Patel family I'm referencing, not related to Sanju, who is a fine person, owns the Homewood Suites on Meeting Street, as Patrick mentioned, and the sister property next door. The Homewood Suites, as Patrick mentioned, sits on the site of Clyde Burris's longstanding liquor business, a cornerstone of Meeting Street. In 2014, Burris sold the land deal that marked a key moment in the transformation of this corridor. As quoted, this was a pivotal transaction that transformed this historically gritty stretch into a site of meaningful redevelopment. Burris's legacy is interwoven with the site, and the development honored that history, bringing stable, long-term ownership and responsible hospitality to the neighborhood. Some members of this commission likely remember the care that was taken in relocating Burris's store and rebuilding it across the street, creating a major architectural and programming improvement. As everyone may recall, what was previously there. The sister property, as Patrick mentioned, is undergoing a $35 million renovation with their family capital, converting it to a live oak tribute property with a European flair. Not only is my company teaming up with an extraordinary family, Eddie Bellew and Eric Garris are the presumptive architects, Forsberg on the civil, and Choate Construction is the likely GC, clearly not a group of out-of-towners selected as the lowest bidders. I respectfully submit that moratoriums were not meant to restrict groups of our collaborative historical Charleston credentials and the contribution we can make to this district and the built environment at large, turning a hideous blight into beauty. Before turning this over to Andy Gatter for some brief comments, all we are asking the commission for is a sensible inclusion of this property in the accommodations overlay. The only alternative here would be a boring brown brick multifamily, probably developed by an out-of-town outfit, who I can almost guarantee is not family-owned and managed and does not provide or will not provide 100 to 150 local jobs, many likely to come from this neighborhood. I implore the commission to let us proceed to the next steps by voting yes for accommodations overlay, and then a very rigorous BZA 23-pronged special exception test. Then BAR, our team deserves that. We are not an ordinary group, nor is this a conventional site of which each should stand on its own, not creating a slippery slope for this commission, and the project should be judged by its unique and specific characteristics, the team's accomplishments, the merits, and not have the starting gate closed as a blanket solution. I'd now like to turn this over to Andy Gatter.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, good evening. My name's Andy Gowder. I practice law with Austin and Gowder at 1629 Meeting Street. I represent the applicant, JJR. My main point in my few remarks before you this evening is that the city's comprehensive plan encourages a diversity and mix of uses in this area. And this application is consistent with these goals in the city's plan. It's fundamental, as you all know, and as you all practice every time you get together, that zoning decisions must be made to conform with the comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan calls for denser mixed uses in this location. Mr. Morgan, could you advance? The city plan from 2021, many of you I know were serving on this commission when the city's critical comprehensive planning update resulted in this document. It had a number of recommendations. Among those were the economic development recommendations, which said, among other things, that it encouraged development and redevelopment in areas designated as city centers, which this is, as vibrant mixed-use centers providing employment, entertainment, and housing. It also suggested that the tourism management plan would be updated in a manner that would balance livability for Charleston citizens while recognizing the importance and economic impact of tourism. Mr. Morgan, if you will advance the slide. Thank you. This is a low-line design image from the comprehensive plan. This property is located, as you can see, along Meeting Street, which is identified as a major transportation and transit corridor. It's, of course, the future site of the Low Country Lowline. The Low Country Lowline Park is slated to be located immediately behind this property. And it's also along the corridor for the Low Country Rapid Transit Service, incorporating multiple modes of transportation from pedestrian to biking to transit to automobiles. Next slide, please. It's also located very along the line of the transit stops for the Low Country Rapid Transit and very near the proposed Eugene Street LRT Transit Station. Next slide, please. Under the land use section of the comprehensive plan, I would draw your attention to the highlighted portion that says that the blocks along the proposed LRT route are suitable for higher density and mixed use. They are key areas for higher residential density infill and redevelopment within walking distance. Next slide, please. City Center, which this is, consists of the most dense and mixed-use portions of the city. These areas occur on the highest ground elevations. As was mentioned earlier, this is along the spine of the peninsula, the highest spot on the peninsula, allowing for the best opportunities for new or infill development. Development in city centers is dependent on the surrounding context, and that's important here. And Patrick demonstrated for you a few minutes ago with those slides what the context here is. Next slide, please. As is shown here, this location, you can see where the site is, it's literally in the center of the city center district. Next slide. The recommendations for land use are to make the best use of the highest land around the city for residential, commercial, and mixed-use development, especially areas around current or future public transit corridors, which this is. It also encourages work with the Berkeley, Charleston, Dorchester COG to provide for transit-oriented developments along the LRT, which we believe this is. The city plan calls for denser mixed uses in this location that provide employment, entertainment, and housing. It is ideally located to take the advantage both of bike, pedestrian, and transit. It's located on the spine of the peninsula with the most elevation in the future land use area designated as city center, where the opportunities for infill development should occur. This team and this applicant is not arguing to change the city's policy with regard to accommodations overlay or hospitality uses on the peninsula. We do not disagree with those who argue that the city should not expand its overall policy related to the accommodations uses on the peninsula without further study, as Mr. Morgan mentioned in his remarks. As the city plan says, though, there must be a balance between the livability of the city for all of its residents and those who come here as tourists. Rather, what this is a request to look at this particular property as uniquely positioned to serve as an appropriate location for a hospitality use and to recognize that it is entirely consistent with the city plan. Thank you for your attention, and Mr. Morgan, before I step away and let Mr. Patel make some closing remarks, would you reverse the slides back to the one that showed the front of the existing property. That one. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jeffrey, Andy, and Patrick. My name is Anish Patel, and I am part of a generationally owned family hotel business out of Charlotte, North Carolina. We've been operating here in Charleston for the better part of a decade, nearly 15 years now. Extremely proud, along with my father, brothers, and cousins, of our accomplishments here. And, you know, we do have deep roots in the city of Charleston, and we care about it very much. On this specific site, with extraordinary and exceptional conditions, as Jeff and team mentioned, for the proposed hotel at 529 Meeting Street, we're planning on creating a hotel that's flagged with the AC by Marriott flag. It's an upscale, European-inspired brand that emphasizes intentional design, walkability, cultural resonance. This hotel, in our minds, is conceived as a perfect urban complement to Charleston's historic core. Refined yet modern, globally inspired, but locally grounded at the same time. So just to give you a quick idea of what, you know, and this is very high level, but what we're thinking, you know, the ground floor will likely have a very high quality coffee concept. It's open, it's activated, it has a pedestrian edge. The lobby bar will be something that's stylish yet understated, creating a gathering space that blends guests and locals alike. Our F&B components are going to be culturally relevant, hopefully creating a cultural hub, connecting the property not only to the skyline and social life of Charleston, but being a superlative activation for what I think is very important in the low line that we're going to come across. I think what we can do here for the low line, what the low line can do for a property that speaks hospitality here will be great for the city overall and the overall project. So, you know, our approach is pretty simple. I think this hotel complements the urban picture for Upper Meeting Street. It fills in the landscape very well. It promotes walkability, and it kind of bridges that architectural clarity to a very transitional block. So we think it balances scale, experience, and elegance in a way that respects Charleston's past while still, you know, embracing the future that's to come. So thank you for the commission's time.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Mr. Roberts, anyone else? That's it? Thank you, thank you. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this application? Mayor Tecklenburg?
Thank you. John Tecklenburg. I'm a private citizen that lives at 9 Fenwick Drive. And
You'll never be a private citizen.
I do want you to know, no one called me to ask me to be here tonight, and I hope I don't endanger the application by my presence. I saw an article in the paper this morning that mentioned the address, 529 Meeting Street. And I didn't even know what they were applying for, but I know that address. It's the home of the city's Hope Center, where we provide humanitarian services to those most in need in our community. And I wanted to tell you, I felt moved to come this evening and share with you a story about the owner of the property, who I understand will continue to have an interest in this development. Before I get to Mr. Kaplan, you know Jeffrey. We all put up with Jeffrey. He's the guy, the go-to guy, when we had trouble at the city to make things happen with affordable housing. Jeffrey, can you help us make this work out? And he always answered the call. He always answered the call to help the city for affordable housing. Mr. Patel's hotel, the Holiday Inn that's being renovated, my wife and I were in there about 2 months ago, not to check out a room. We were there with a truck from the Homeless to Hope furniture warehouse that accepts furniture to provide to those who are finding new places to live and have nothing. He donated all the furniture from the hotel. He was a thoughtful guy to his organization to do things like that. And that gets back to Mr. Kaplan. It was 10 years ago that there were hundreds of tents underneath I-26, homeless individuals living in tents, unsanitary, unsafe conditions. And we came up with a plan to relocate those individuals. We realized through that process that we needed a place during the day to help those who were experiencing homelessness, who for whatever reason weren't candidates for 180 Place. They needed a place to be referred for additional services, a place where they could wash their clothes and take a shower and just receive warmth on a cold day and cooling on a hot day. It's still operating today, 8 years later. We knew we needed that place. And I just happened to know Mr. Hal Kaplan. He was the owner of the property, still is. And he built Head Start centers. And the Charleston County School District was a tenant of his. I happened at the time to represent the school district and got to know Mr. Kaplan. This was 15 years ago. And the school district, for whatever reason, left the property, did not renew the lease. It was just about the same time we came to this plan to have a Hope Center in Charleston. So I called Mr. Kaplan and I said, Mr. Kaplan, would you kindly allow the city to utilize this building for this purpose? I explained it all to him. I said, I know you got like 25,000 square feet in this building, but we really need a deal. And I explained it all to him. He said, how about $1 a year? How about $1 a year? And it might have just lasted for a year or two. 9 years now, the city has been using this property for $1 a year. And I'm not here to bemoan its loss as use of a Hope Center. There are plans for another Hope Center that even the current administration plans to build. We knew this day would come that the property would be redeveloped. But I wanted to share with you the compassion, the caring, the civic mindedness of the folks that are involved with this. I know you've got to judge the merits of the matter before you, but you are dealing with people, and Jeffrey, I hope it's not an endangered species. People who are honest, people who have integrity, people who do what they say they're going to do, and people who, whether they live in Charlotte or in Charleston, you just know it. They're people that care about community and are civic minded. I felt moved to come here tonight and share that with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Tacklenberg. It's always good to hear from you. Anyone else in support?
Yeah, I'd like to say something.
Come on up, sir. Tell us who you are, tell us who you live, and if you represent anyone.
Yes, sir. My name's Matt Liu. I'm the Vice President of Operations for Terra Investments, which is the hotel company looking to put this project together. I live on James Island. Excuse me. I've lived on James Island now for 6 years, but I've born and raised in the state of South Carolina. I've lived here for 40 years now. I just turned 40 in December, so appreciate you, Mayor, for saying those kind things. I just wanted to expand on that. I've been now with 4 different hotel companies throughout my career. Hopefully this will be the last one. I've never met more genuine, good, caring, honest people in my entire life. They are who they are. They do what they say at all costs. When I first joined this company, I was the area GM over both of our existing hotels, which is the Homewood Suites and Holiday Inn. And over the course of 2 years over those 2 hotels, I was promoted into my current role. During that time, we are, it's a business. We've got to be viable. We've got to be financially responsible. But the one thing that we care about and pride ourselves on, one thing is even a requirement for our hotel leaders is community service. We believe in the impact that we have as stewards of this community. We invest countless hours, time, money, resources to numerous agencies and systems. So I just wanted to highlight a few of those. Mayor already talked about us donating a lot of our assets in our hotel that we could have easily liquidated for hundreds of thousands of dollars, but we knew better than that. One thing that I'm very proud of, we work with SC Works and Project Search. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with those 2 programs. I've worked with Project Search now since 2016, started in Columbia. The goal of that organization is to provide students with disabilities the opportunity to gain real-life work experience before they graduate high school, in hopes that they place a job that pays more than minimum wage. We take on about 10 students every year. We provide our hotels as a source of basically like a workshop, if you will. We spend hours a day teaching them how to build resumes, how to conduct interviews, how to be prepared for those interviews. Then we spend about 5 hours a day of on-site job training across all of our departments. And we graduate students every year, and thankfully, at the end of those years, not only do we graduate them and hope for the best, but we actually employ them. They're still with us. A lot of them have been promoted. A lot of them, unfortunately, are looked at a certain way, which is unfortunate. But we take pride in that program. We give back to those students, and it's a really, really great thing. It fulfills us. It's fun. It's scary at times, but those students are incredible human beings, and we love doing that work. Not to mention, we work with the VA here. We employ two to 5 different team members based on who's still with us during this renovation. One of which was actually recognized with an award from the VA and the City of Charleston's Hospitality Commission. His name's Stephen Addison. We also have John Ogden, who's our Assistant Chief Engineer over at the Homewood Suites currently. But we give back to those veterans that come back and unfortunately, go through life struggles and have a difficult time finding jobs. We also support them, work with them. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with I Serve with Joy, but that's one of our biggest community service aspects of things outside of working with some of the schools and students and veterans. But we give back to them, whether it's providing resources, goods, time, whatever it is. But we've been working with her and her organization for the last 3 years. And it's just another great thing that we get to do. Also, obviously, College of Charleston internship program. We work with countless students. We actually have 4 employed right now at our front desk. So we also offer opportunities to those students to gain work experience and then employ them as well after the fact. Right now, I'm actively working with James Island Charter High School. I'm very proud my son goes there as well as a freshman on the B team, but we're working with their IB program to provide their students an opportunity for those that are interested in hospitality to use our hotels and our place of business as a workshop to gain experience as well. So this isn't just a hotel, it's not just a business. It's something that we're very passionate about giving back to this community, and I just wanted to highlight that for you guys as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming out. Anyone else in favor of the application? Mr. Burrows, how are you, sir?
Oh, pretty good, how you?
Good to see you.
Pretty good. I'm Clyde Burrows. I happen to be the one that, we're working with the Purcells. I knew the granddaddy, I knew his father, and believe me, whatever they say they're gonna do, they're gonna do it.
You can understand.
And I can't say much more, everybody else has said so much. It's got the truth there, but really, honesty, and if you had to do something spur of the moment, just ask them. And they make sure it complies with the city of Charleston. And that's all I got to say, wonderful, but thank you so much.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Burrows. Good to see you. Anyone else in favor of the application? Anyone else in favor of the application? Anyone in opposition to the application? Come on up, tell us who you are, if you represent someone. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lisa Jones and I represent Historic Charleston Foundation. I'm the Director of Advocacy there, and this is a tough crowd to follow there speaking in support, but I'm here to speak in opposition to the amendment of the accommodations overlay. And I'm doing that for a few distinct reasons. None of them have to do with the character of the applicant. The accommodations overlay ordinance amendment outlines where a hotel should go on the peninsula and was the result of months of hard work by a mayor-appointed ad hoc task force in 2019. Much thought went into planning where and why that overlay exists. There are almost 2,000 approved rooms within half a mile of this site already, and there are ample possibilities for already approved hotels in the area to build out. The Charleston Peninsula currently has over 5,000 hotel rooms in operation. there are more than 3,500 rooms that are entitled to be built within the accommodations overlay zone already. That's a lot of growth. That's 70% growth that can be accommodated without expanding the accommodations overlay zone. There's no need to expand the zone to accommodate healthy tourism. Furthermore, the Charleston Peninsula is experiencing an attainable housing crisis, and we need the mixed uses that have residential choices incorporated into them. Finally, this site does have a building on it that would need to be considered for demolition to build accommodations on it, and it is a historic building, and as the Historic Charleston Foundation, we would have concerns about that. I know that's not under your purview, I just want to flag that. Historic Charleston Foundation has been working for decades to support responsible tourism while preserving the quality of life of our residents, and maintaining the integrity of the accommodations overlay zone is a key component of striking that balance. I truly appreciate the opportunity to speak before you this evening in opposition to expanding the overlay district, and I appreciate the time you're putting into this.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for coming. Anyone else in opposition? Come on up. Come on up, sir. How you doing tonight?
I'm great, how are y'all?
Good.
Sam Spence from the Preservation Society of Charleston. The Preservation Society would like to thank the project team for proactively communicating their plans about this request tonight and understanding our position at the end of the day. We'd also like to thank the city and this planning commission for a renewed focus on recommending against piecemeal expansions of the city's accommodations overlay. Tourism serving pressures, as you all know, in Charleston are growing, and Planning Commission's oversight is one way to minimize those negative impacts. In the case of 529 and 537 Meeting Streets, rezoning for accommodations use would have detrimental impacts to the mixed-use character of the district, already with several hotels, and the Charleston community at large. A denial today does not preclude the site from continued successful mixed-use redevelopment in the future. As shown in the packet that Christopher displayed earlier, the applicant property is just 200 feet from one existing accommodations use, that's the Moxie Hotel, which was also a piecemeal addition to the overlay in 2018. And in addition to what's shown on the packet, and Christopher mentioned it, but there are also subject properties near this property, with some within 500 feet that are also in the accommodations overlay, some added as piecemeal additions, but have not yet pursued accommodations, just a special exception away, I guess, from getting their approval. Within the Meeting Street corridor, north of Lion Street, there are a number of other large-scale hotel projects also that account for nearly 300 hotel rooms in addition to the 130-room hotel just north. 600 Meeting Street, just north of Hugie Street, has received final BAR approval and remains active. There was a stormwater permit up for public notice about that property last month. And as you also probably know, 245 Hugie Street, just across the street on the same side of Meeting Street, received conceptual BAR approval just last week. Both were also piecemeal additions to the accommodations overlay. So at some point, it's just time to say enough is enough. And currently zoned MU2WH, the subject properties are ideal for continued mixed-use redevelopment of high-density housing along what has become a popular and successful resident-serving corridor that is also well-served by transit, even more so in the future, as Christopher outlined earlier. So we urge the Planning Commission to continue to hold the line against piecemeal, non-contiguous additions to the accommodations overlay district and recommend disapproval of this request tonight.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming. Ms. Jackson, come on up. It's always good to see you,
Thank
ma'am.
you, planning commissioners. I'm very glad to have a couple of people buffering the mayor and my comments. Yes, I am here to ask you to oppose this rezoning application. I have no doubt, and I've certainly seen in action the development team that has benefited our community over and over and over again. So I wish that you could take that kind of, excellence into consideration as far as the people. But honestly, your job is to think about the zoning and the way that we use our land in this city. And I was privileged to be on the council while the task force did their deliberations about how to define and establish the accommodations district. It's not that people who were decision makers in an era need to be sentimental about the decisions that were made. But these were very well researched and practical, and they made sense to our tourism industry and everyone who ended up being in favor of this overlay concept and the actual locations where it's now established. So I felt comforted as I read the updated agenda today that the staff is recommending this approval. I hope you will take their advice. Mr. Morgan used the word that brought me out tonight, precedent. And I really feel like that is something that Planning Commission has full authority to understand precedent and to put it in its place. We cannot do that kind of, because good people are asking us to make exceptions to a land use decision that was made very thoughtfully and well-researched just a few years ago. It really does not work for a community that is relying on our land use and the decisions that are being made. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you for coming out, Ms. Jackson.
I hope you'll remember this when it comes to our zoning rewrite that is going to be paying attention to elevation in hazardous flood areas, because we're gonna have a lot of people coming forward to ask you to change precedent when we protect those zones. So
Thank you,
very
ma'am.
much.
Thank you for coming, Ms. Jackson. Anyone else in opposition? Come on up, sir.
Sure.
Good evening. My name is Nelson Billington. I work in hospitality. I've lived in Charleston for about 7 years. And I wanted to voice my opposition to the proposal. I appreciated the information that the development team shared this evening. And having worked in this business for about 6 or 7 years, I just wanted to share some thoughts. The first regarding the developer who operates a handful of limited service properties in Charlotte, Nashville, and Charleston. I took issue with the idea that this is a local sort of born and raised Charleston company. They have obviously established roots, and as spoken about earlier, the gentleman who works in operations has had an amazing experience working with them, but I don't believe that this is a local group that's just doing this because they've been here forever. The second thing I'd add is the brand choice that was briefly mentioned, AC Hotels by Marriott. This brand is often chosen by a developer for its flexibility, not necessarily because it represents a high-quality hotel asset, as has been seen with several other AC Hotels by Marriott across the country. It's typically a brand that's chosen when they don't want to spend the money for another one, so they choose this because it gives them a lot of flexibility in terms of the interior design, the food and beverage outlets, the functionality of the hotel. And the second, I think, is the two properties that they have currently on Meeting Street. I enjoy visiting lots of different restaurants of all calibers in Charleston. I don't feel that the two existing hotels are really community gathering places for locals, and would be challenged to see that they would do something different with this additional parcel. I support hotels, it's my livelihood. I support responsible development in Charleston, but to me, the brief overview given of the project doesn't present merit to change the accommodation of based on what has been briefly shared. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to be heard in opposition to the proposal? Well, seeing none, Mr. Chair, that ends the public hearing, and we'll now hear from the commission.
Let's hear back from the applicant.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, but before we do that, Mr. Morgan, can you review any public comments that were written to us? So the applicant respond as well, or just kind of summarize those?
So we have, it looks like about 13 comments that were submitted online that are in opposition to the change. There are people on all parts of the city, but all of them are in opposition to the proposed change.
How many were
Proposed
not?
addition of the accommodations overlay.
I noticed some from Somerville and from like Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
I don't know if some were from North Boston, so is that in response to this being in the newspaper?
That's good to point out as well.
Yeah, because when I saw Somerville, I was like, I'm from Somerville.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Morgan, we good? Okay, great. Would the applicant like to respond to any things that were brought up, any concerns or questions?
Yes, I appreciate the feedback we got from Historic Charleston and Preservation, and we have won many design awards from each one of those organizations, and I respect their opinions, and the citizens have a right to voice their opinion. I would say that we are not against managing hotel growth. We support that. I would tell you that a phantom number of units exist that were given out that will never be built, although I don't want to get into the specific properties. Some of those properties were offered to me in the last few weeks to buy. Separately, in a way, this is not a land play. This is uniquely suitable for this group to do this particular property, which is 200 feet away from an accommodations use. The numerical amount that was stated as notional hotel rooms, I gave the analogy as magazines on lounge chairs. Yes, we need to manage hotel growth. This is a living, breathing city of which we have been major participants in its progress and things in the built environment. So on this decrepit body, we are the team to do this unique, special property. It is not a vacant lot somewhere that is in the middle of the historic district. It exists on the spine, it exists on the low line, and we would never look to do a property against the grain, nor can I recall how we ever had a point of departure with staff, but we understand that we don't think moratoriums, this is a special situation with a special property and a special group of developers, and the intent has never been of the city to catch an endangered species in the net. This is unique. We don't see it as a slippery slope. We don't see it drawing that line. And the Board of Zoning Appeals deals with extraordinary, and not that you're the BZA, but this is an extraordinary and exceptional circumstance. We're making Custer's last stand on something that makes unique sense, is within the purview of this commission to approve, and we urge it approved based on its uniqueness.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Mr. Gatter's going to say something.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Gatter. Yes, sir.
And just not to belabor it, but just to reiterate the point that this is clearly within the comprehensive plan, consistent with the comprehensive plan in this location. And you've heard it mentioned already that there have been exceptions made when it made sense to this commission and to city council to extend accommodations uses for various locations. We think that it doesn't make sense to simply say that you're not going to consider this location because the accommodations overlay zone exists, it has boundaries, and you're not going to go any further than that. You've already done that. We think it makes sense that in the peninsula plan that accommodations overlay be looked at again, but in the meantime, we believe that this is a uniquely qualified, appropriate location to extend this use, and we ask the commission to give that consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gatter. Thank you. Just so everyone knows, we're going to close the public aspect of this. Whatever we do tonight, it goes to city council, the final approval, whatever decision we make. But anyway, got to close the public aspect of this. Commission members, questions, comments? Ms. Harrison?
So I'm out the gate gonna just go ahead and make a motion for approval. But here's the objective, my objective analysis of it, based on just the legal grounds for why I think it's appropriate. It is true that our accommodations overlay, it's the zoning, and the accommodation overlay exists. But also in tandem with that works the overlay, the accommodations ordinance. So when you look at the actual map, you know that there are certain parcels that are in the overlay that will never probably be able to have an accommodations use on them. Primarily because when the ordinance was rewritten for accommodations uses, one element of that dealt with actual housing on a site. So a housing has to have been abandoned for over 5 years in order to even build a hotel, or you have to replace it within less than a quarter of a mile. It's for that particular house. And what that recalled me to my mindset was 411 Meeting Street. Is a prime example of how that ordinance actually really works and why we've probably not seen as many accommodations overlay requests in the past several years as like this one. The other reason too is that this is an interesting location because in any other metropolitan city, you would see hotels right next to on-ramps and off-ramps of a highway. It makes absolute sense. That's what happened over here at the very corner where Buck Hotel is located. So to me, there is a true basis for why this extension of the accommodations overlay exists, because the overlay exists in tandem with the ordinance, and the ordinance and the overlay, this zoning change works. And that's the way I've looked at it. And it is absolutely right, because I've actually rezoned parcels for accommodations overlay. I have not seen my hotels built. So it happens.
And that's, you making a motion?
That's my motion for approval.
So motion approved. Second, or other comments, questions?
I'll second it, just get it on the floor.
Okay, so the second by Mr. Lassane, awful quiet in there. You know, I think when the hotel accommodations, and I respect what staff has to say and their position, it was a blanket kind of a philosophy and something we needed to try to follow. But I think what the commission does is we look at things, we look at them case by case, we decide on them case by case, and we look at the merits of each case and try to determine those. So you just say it's not the accommodations, it's something I get concerned about, just saying it's a negative because it's not accommodations. So I think we need to look at these things. And so I'm supportive of the motion. I am supportive of it. I have concerns about the hotels. I think a lot of them, as said, would not be built, may not be built. That's not for us to decide, but other commission members?
One concern I have is the MU2, again, going back to
Say it a little
housing.
loud, I'm a little.
The MU2 zoning that it was there. I didn't realize that that was the zoning, and again, we're taking housing away from downtown Charleston. And affordable housing, hopefully, but housing nevertheless. And I think everyone in this group is admirable. I mean, so I'm torn right now.
I got you right here.
It's the two different zonings, and I think that it's a great area with the off-ramp, and I think that, but we didn't put it in the accommodation zonings when we did our plan. Why didn't we? And what was the consideration then? And I do have a question. What's the difference in the heights for an accommodation and an MU2, if any?
The accommodations overlay would not affect the height. The height
So it
would be
wouldn't
set
change
by just where it is in the city and what the surrounding context is.
And Mr. Morgan, if we were to approve this and city council were to approve it, I'm just saying, this would be going through a myriad of things.
Yes, it would get the special exception that looks at, how the hotel functions, where access points are, where deliveries are made, how many rooms would be there, those types of things. Yes.
This would be
And then it would have to go
intensively
through
scrutinized.
Board of Architectural Review for design review of the structure, yes.
And the ordinance doesn't require them to contribute to the housing fund?
Yes, and accommodations overlay requires a certain amount per square foot. I don't know that exact figure, but that is a change that was made, I think, in line with those 2019 studies and things like that.
Mr. Bailey, did you want to say something?
Sure. Well, I'll start by saying that I expect that city council is going to make the decision on this. There is probably no issue. Well, I don't know if I'd say no issue, but the growth of hotel rooms in the city certainly has been one of the most hotly discussed political issues in the last 15 or 20 years. And elected officials are going to ultimately make the call on this. regardless, I think, of what we decide tonight. But my thoughts are that, number one, I agree that the team is fantastic. I agree that the location here is very, very suitable for dense development, if we're gonna have dense development in downtown Charleston. I also agree that, with the sentiments I've heard from many, that a lot of the dense development that has happened in Charleston in the last 15 or 20 years is not necessarily of the type of the architectural character that we would love to see. I'll leave that there. I also know that perhaps the thing that I remember most about that experience doing the comprehensive plan, rewriting the comprehensive plan during COVID on Zoom, more than anything, the one item that there was zero debate on is that we need more housing. None. No debate on that. There's a lot of debate on whether or not we need more hotel rooms. So I think I agree that we have to make judgment calls here. But I think my judgment call is that I'm going to err on the side of less new hotel rooms, and hope that we get a team on something else as qualified as this team for another type of development on that site.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Other questions, comments?
I would just like to
Ms.
say,
Rodriguez?
I'm not in questioning the team's ability to build a nice hotel here. I live within walking distance of this property, and I walk this street like at least 5 times a week. And we, as a board, have always been looking for more residential versus hotels. And I don't favor another hotel being built in this area. So I just wanted to just go on the record and say that the Moxley, to me, is an ill-fitted hotel already. And my immediate neighbors, we don't like it, but it's there, obviously. But another hotel in this area is just not something that I know a lot of people, like I said, within walking distance from this property, is looking forward to seeing in this area. I heard Ms. Harrison say about in other areas how hotels are greatly needed or already exist near interstates, but I just don't. I oppose the project.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Other questions, comments? If not, there's a motion by Ms. Harrison, second by Ms. Lassane. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye and raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that right? Anyone in opposition? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the motion is defeated by 5 to 4. So, thank you all. Appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is it's 1735 Hollydale Court, John Zon, TMS number 313, Robert Zeros on Momentum 23, 313, Robert 0229.081 acres. Request single family, request is to rezone from single family to business park. Mr. Morgan.
Okay, so this property is kind of stuck in the middle of a larger development that is all owned by the applicant. It originally was envisioned that there would be a kind of commercial component along this street down here and possibly residential to the rear. And I think that's why the residential designation was put on there. And then the applicant annexed these properties to the rear and went ahead and zoned those under business park, which was in line with our comprehensive plan. But this site that has a detention pond on it was left under the SR1. You couldn't really build a house on it at this point because of the detention pond, and it is basically completely surrounded by future commercial development. So we felt like it was a location that was gonna be appropriate to incorporate into those other categories, into the other category of business park. This is just off Maybank Highway to the south. It also will have a connection to the mixed-use developments that is to the east. This is a new city road that will connect in with this development. I'll show you the table that is the difference between the SR1 and the business park. And you all have seen a lot of business park zones come before you. We feel like it's a better way to handle some of the light industrial or office warehousing type uses that are so needed in different parts of the city. Here's an aerial image of the site, and again, detention pond on it at present. And here's our comprehensive plan, which shows this is part of the city center on this area on Johns Island. And then there is a wetland area that will be designed around with your future development to the north. And staff is recommending for approval on this request to go from SR1 to business park.
Great, is the applicant with us? Yes, sir, come on, tell us about the project.
Yes, sir. Thank you, commissioners. We've been in front of you before for the annexation and zoning for the two rear portions of the property, which are zoned BP, and this was kind of an oversight. The pond was part of the Hollydale development previously, and I didn't know that it was zoned residential. I assumed it was zoned general business as the front portion was. As part of our development plans, we're going to connect River Ridge to Hollydale Court. So we went through a process with the town or the city to deed back the cul-de-sac to the adjacent property owner, and it carried with it the residential zoning as well. So that's why it's kind of configured that way. So I think this is a little bit less controversial than previous two applications. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir, appreciate it. Anyone here in support of the application? Anyone in opposition to the application? Yes, ma'am, come on up.
My name is Linda Blanchard. My concern is.
Give us your address just for the record, if you would.
Sylvan Shores, 2430 Sylvan Shores Drive.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm just curious as to how the property is going to be used. Business park indicates more than one business. What is the parking situation? Because Maybank Highway is already a giant mess.
We'll let him respond to that when he gives the comments after we hear if there's any others. Let him respond. Anything else, ma'am, you want to bring up?
That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition? Yes, sir. Would you like to respond to some of the concerns?
Yes, sir. Actually working with the staff, this was kind of a zoning classification that was recommended rather than the GB to try to fill the void of businesses that can have an office and a warehouse in the back. So it's like for HVAC companies, electrical companies, carpentry. So it kind of fits into a niche, and I think the old Berkeley Electric facility is utilizing the same BP zoning. So we recently went through the zoning process with Planning Commission and annexation for the back part. So predominantly the whole back part is zoned with BP already. So we're just correcting the mistake that we made earlier.
Thank you, sir. And would you be willing, if the young lady, if she had some other questions as you'll go along,
Yeah.
maybe stay in communication with that lady?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone, so that'll close the public aspect of this. Commission members, discussion.
Move for approval.
Move approval, Ms. Lassane. Second. Ms. Lepsis. Motion by Mr. Hussein, second Ms. Lampasas. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone in opposition? That's 9 in favor, none opposed. Great, thank you all for coming. The final item for zoning is 106 County Street, the portion of 99 St. Phillips, TMS 4601, 03017, 4601 302 603 001, 4601 603 127, 4601 603 143 through 4601 602. I got in the middle of this.
You're doing good, Charlie.
3203 and 4601. 0329, I'm after this Krispy Kreme donut. It's 1.9 acres and request rezone properties from Old City Heights District 4 to Old City Heights District 5 and 8, Mr. Moore.
Okay, so this is property that was recently acquired by the College of Charleston for future expansion of facilities. In this instance, they are looking at this site for dormitory space, and I'll let the representatives from the college explain that a little bit further. But you all might be aware that there's an acute need for dormitory space at the College of Charleston. And by virtue of providing dormitory space at the College of Charleston on campus, that helps to limit how much student encroachment happens into the neighborhoods, which is something that a lot of our downtown neighborhoods like very much. And I think you'll hear from some folks who are with the Radcliffe Borough neighborhood who like the idea that the college would provide housing like this on their campus.
This would be college owned.
Yes, yes. And they also bought the building that's here that was once a privately owned condo building that has been used for student housing at the corner of Van Rost and St. Philip as well. And a private developer had done a rehab of that and really did a huge improvement to it. And that was coupled together with some of this deal. And obviously they will have to go to the BAR on this. This is the site, you'll see in some of the pictures where the old YWCA was off of Cummings Street. And then there is, of course, some neighborhood context that they have to be dealing with. But then they're also right up against a kind of a quasi-industrial building that was owned by AT&T to the south, or still is, and Bell South that has switching equipment and other kind of intensive uses inside it. And then it backs up to over 6-story parking deck that is right here on the college campus that's owned by the College of Charleston. So the request is to change the height districts on a portion of the site. Right now, there are the subject site is all 4-story here, shown in the green, and to take it to up to 5, and in instance of most of the property up to an 8-story height district. The 8-story area would be shrouded from view by virtue of how the 4- and 5-story areas would be organized, and also by virtue of the AT&T building and the parking deck and some of the other buildings in the area that would help to hide that greater height. In the change in the height districts here, this is just an outline of what is allowed and how the BAR can review things. The BAR is allowed to make changes up to a 1/2 story in kind of narrowing and sculpting the building if they see fit. None of this, of course, has been to BAR yet, so none of that has been figured out. All you all are kind of looking at is boxes right now of where the heights would be. And we'll show you some images that help with that. So again, this is the subject property here. It is a larger property, but the part that has the existing building on it would not be subject to these changes. Here we show how it would at present, or would go to it would go to 5 stories along Van Rost for 50 feet in, and then it would go to 8 stories in the middle of the site, and 4 stories along Cummings Street, 50 feet in, it would go to 8 stories there. Here's an aerial of the site with the YWCA on it, and the rest of it basically is parking lots. So it's not taking out other buildings other than the YWCA building, which would have to go through a BAR process. Some images of the buildings around here. This is a view up Cummings Street. So the new structure would be roughly in this location here. Here's the YWCA, and then the current parking garage that's on the site. That's a 6-story parking garage. and then the four-story privately built but now publicly owned by the College of Charleston student housing that's at Van der Alst and St. Philip. And then this is a kind of axon of how the height, the maximum extent of the height in the block. And of course, this would be sculpted down both through BAR process, through the college's own design process, but it would keep to 4 stories along where you've got the smaller buildings along Cumming Street, 5 stories along Van der Alst, where you have some bigger buildings there. The Charleston water system structure, while 3 stories, is a little bit taller, and then of course this is a 4-story structure there, and you don't have as many of the smaller houses along Van der Alst. And then up against the parking deck, you would have the 8 stories there, and up against the more industrial buildings of AT&T and Bell South area would be taller there too. Here's a street level view of Cumming Street looking up. Again, maximum extent sculpting is not in effect on this. And then a view from Van der Alst. And we always have, when you all are looking at height changes, these kind of boxy looks, so you can just get a sense of that maximum extent. We don't want to color your views with what architecture might look like, because we know they'll have great architects that come and make that, height not as prevalent along all these street frontages. So in our comprehensive plan, this, at the time the comprehensive plan was written, this was privately held property, so it was designated for neighborhood. Had it been publicly held by the College of Charleston, it would have had that campus designation. So essentially, that's probably something we would update in future plans, is to make it part of the campus designation now that the college owns it. So our staff is recommending approval of this. Again, we have worked with the college to call for the 50-foot setback along Cumming Street and a 4-story limit on Cumming for the first 50 feet. And then along Van der Alst, you would have the 50-foot setback for five stories and a 50-foot setback to that 8 stories there. And with those comments, staff's recommending approval.
Thank you. Is the applicant with us?
I just have one
Oh,
question.
yes.
So
How are you, ma'am?
I noticed that that the city of Charleston is the applicant on this.
Yes,
So
I
can
should
you
have clarified.
explain
Thank you for
that
asking
for
that, Ms. Harrison. Thank you.
3
I
and
neglected to point out.
5 and 6?
So under the current height ordinance, an applicant from outside the city organization can only ask for the next step up. So if it's a 4-story district, they could only ask for a 5-story district. The city has to be the applicant in this instance, and you all have seen a couple of these over the years since the new height ordinances went into effect, where because somebody is doing something that is taking more than one step up, the city is the applicant because we feel it's something that is overall benefit to the city. So in this instance, we think getting the college housing more consolidated on the campus will help us with our neighborhoods and helping the neighborhoods meet some of the housing needs for other folks in the city beyond just students.
Okay.
Good question, Ms. Harrison. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good evening, I'm Christy Schultz, I'm with the College of, I'm sorry, not College of Architecture, but the CFC, and I'm the Director of Architecture and Engineering. And as Christopher explained, CFC is asking to, or we're proposing to build 1,000 beds. And part of our goal here is we have a great demand for affordable housing. And it's sort of a win-win for both the city and for the college to get our students out of the neighborhoods and then on central campus. Christopher, can I have you go back to that sonometric? Yeah. So what we're asking here is to go from 4 stories to 8, and I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but we really feel that this will allow us to make the architecture that much more interesting and really better for the neighborhood. What you see here just looks like one big monolith, but this will allow us to really carve out the masses and better respect the neighborhood and just be more sensitive to the architecture that is existing, the houses nearby. We're sticking with 4 stories on the Cumming Street. However, on Van der Horst, we do feel like there is a strong precedent with the development right next to this property, the dorm that we just recently acquired it, and then with the waterworks building. So we feel like we really could use that to get our 1,000 beds in. I mean, everybody does seem to be in agreement that high density is a good thing, again, to get the kids out of the neighborhoods and closer to campus. Even though this is drawn as if the whole site would be built on, by asking for the 8 stories, and we really don't see it being built like this, it really allows us to go up and have more green space, to have more open space, and to make this a, like I said, a more dynamic architecturally. We also envision the masses that are now on at the street level, that they will be broken down and they will follow that same rhythm of the single houses that you see. So there will be a lot of breaking down within this mass, but we are asking for this so we really have something to play with and to just make for better architecture.
Thank you. Where do you see all these people parking?
This will be a freshman dorm primarily, so.
They can't have
Yeah.
cars freshman year? Okay. They always sneak them in though, sorry.
Well, you must have done that.
But
I've been
we'll
there.
have extremely limited parking
Okay.
on this site. I mean, probably some handicap spots that are required and some service spots, but that'll be
Okay.
about it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I know some people that just, they go to the college and park way over here, whatever, but anyway, that's neither here nor there, but thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this application? Come on up, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Soul Brainerd. I'm the president of Racket Row Neighborhood Association. I 100% agree with your question about the parking. Our neighbors will not want any parking to be available from like a street decal parking perspective. But other than that, and with respect to the fitting that the BR will ultimately work with you on the heights, our neighborhood association is very much for this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Anyone else in support of the application? Anyone in opposition to the application? Yes, ma'am. Come on up. You come on up. You fine.
Well, I'm sorry I didn't get started on this mission. Enough is enough. Okay, 8 stories is absurd, number one. But 2.
Just for the record, I'm sorry. Just say your name again. I'm sorry.
Sylvan Shores.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And if the city is so concerned about available housing, they should put a moratorium on the Airbnbs that have taken over half of downtown. But beyond that, 8 stories is gonna dwarf. And it's gonna come up right behind the Lutheran Church on King Street.
Sure, that's kind of peculiar. Yep. No, thank you.
That's all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. You come back anytime.
Oh, I've not done
Anyone else in opposition? Mr. Moore, we did have, I think there was one. Oh, I'm sorry. Come on up, sir. Yes, sir. Come on up.
I hate to speak on the opposition side because it's kind of phenomenal, maybe suggestions, I guess. Sam Spence from the Preservation Society. We do want to thank the college for reaching out to discuss this plan, and most people probably don't know the full background of this site and its cultural and historical significance. And that helps us understand the kind of the gravity of the decisions that y'all are making here. For example, the property and portions of the properties around this one are the former site of a city-owned cemetery. And records show that thousands of Charlestonians were likely buried here from 1794 to 1808. In modern times, we know it as the YWCA, which operated on the site for generations, and of course that organization is still strong and serving an important community use today. So I say that just to point to the college as also, as far as we have heard, so we thank you guys for this, that they're taking steps that show that they understand the responsibility of the development of this site, particularly as a public institution. And so we're thankful for that. We also understand the need for college housing and believe this site could be a good place for it. But as proposed, the Preservation Society remains concerned about rezoning the vast majority of the interior of this lot into the 8-story height district, directly abutting the 3-story height district of the neighborhood along Vandross and St. Philip Streets. These parcels do sit still in the neighborhood future land use district, and the tallest adjacent campus buildings are at least 2 stories shorter than what would be allowed here. So I think what Ms. Schultz mentioned earlier about possibly modulating the architecture to make some more open space with the height to kind of give up some density where you can is a good point. But rather than rezoning the entire interior of this property to the 8-story district, consolidating the height in areas that provide a residential buffer would be a more tailored approach in our view. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spence, appreciate it. Anyone else in opposition? Anyone else in opposition? Mr. Morgan, I think there was one written comment. I just say that as it's from Laura Eisenstein, and she was opposed to it, I believe, correct?
And I believe that individual was actually commenting on the Wentworth Street
Oh, I'm
request
sorry.
that is deferred from this agenda.
Okay, I
that will hear
apologize.
at a different time. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Would you like to address any concerns were brought up, Ms. Applicant? And if you don't, that's fine, but we,
Well, I think, as he said, you know, the mass, or the height does seem pretty high, but really up against that garage, I really don't think you're gonna notice that the height is high. And again, he did bring up some good points about the former cemetery and the Y building that we recognize both as being very important to the history of Charleston. And we do plan to commemorate these buildings, or, well, cemetery site as well. And we see this as an opportunity to give us more green space by going up rather than just filling in what you see there, that whole site. So I don't know, we're all about making the ground level a more engaging experience, and we feel this gives us that opportunity.
thank you, ma'am.
Opportunity to commemorate those former sites.
Thank you for your time, ma'am, thank you. That'll close the public aspect of this. Commission members, comments, questions, motions?
I'll move for approval.
Mr. Hussein moves for
And
approval.
I'll just say, while I have the floor, I support this. I think this is exactly what the college needs to be doing. It's gonna be supportive of the neighborhoods. We hear all the time in here about students in neighborhoods. The city has been dealing with that, issue for the last 30 or 40 years since the college grew so much. This is a partial solution to that. And I think actually, rezoning the interior of this block is exactly the way it ought to be done. I mean, BAR will be sensitive to the street frontages, but the interior of that lot is where the tall building should go. I mean, to me, this is kind of textbook where density ought to be in the city. So I will support it. And I would also, I'm glad Mr. Spence brought up the historic nature of the property. The YWCA played such an important role in the civil rights movement in this community. Christine Jackson, the longtime director there, was, one of the stalwart civil rights leaders in the community, and I really would like to see the college recognize the significance of that site for the city. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hussein. So there's a motion by Mr. Hussein. Other questions, comments, or second?
I'll second it. I'm just glad I'm not going 3 in a row in opposition to Mr. Hussein.
So there's a motion by Mr. Hussein, second by Mr. Bailey. Any other questions, comments? If not, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone in opposition? Okay, so it's 9 in favor, none opposed. Thank you all for coming. Next item on the agenda is subdivision. Since just for the record, number 6 was deferred, it's 81 Wentworth Street. So subdivision, point at Governor's K, Cainhoe, EMS number 27100, 2133 and 313, 4.25 acres, request subdivision concept approval for 55 single-family detached residential lots. Joan GB, yes, ma'am.
Oh, see,
Good to see you.
nice to see you too. It's been a minute, right? The applicant is requesting subdivision concept plan approval for 4.25 acres, not 14.25 as it was, there was a little bit of an error on our part on the sign, I believe it was. So it is not 14.25, it is 4.25 acres. On Forest Drive and Clements Ferry Drive, the project will consist in the creation of 55, there's an aerial of the 2 parcels that we're talking about on the comprehensive plan, and that's where we are. So the project will consist in the creation of 55 lots for 1 family attached dwellings. The new parcels conform to the subdivision requirements for one family attached parcels in the general business zoning district. As you can see, there are no wetlands on this parcel. The survey did not show any grand trees, but the applicant is aware that if there are any grand trees, they have to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals site design for any removal of grand trees. The surrounding properties have a mix of general business, gathering place, diverse residential, and planned unit development zoning. As I always remind you, the concept plan, if you choose to approve this, is a concept plan only. The applicant will have to return to technical review committee for a preliminary plat and road construction plans where the review is more stringent than the concept plan. One of the things they have to do, even the concept plan has to comply with the requirements of the 2020 Stormwater Design and Standard Manual. The city's technical review committee has reviewed and approved the conceptual subdivision compliance with city standards, and the staff's recommendation is for approval.
Thank you, ma'am. Is the applicant with us? Come on up, sir. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Chris Donato. I'm with SciCast. We're the engineers and land planners on this project. Ms. Hart stole all my thunder and took all my bullet points from me. So I'm really here just to answer any questions if you have any. Probably the one thing that's unique about this is the 50-foot buffer that we're having on Forest Acre Circle, which is the frontage road to Clements Ferry there, and 20% of the site is maintained open space.
Tell me your last name again.
Donato, D-O-N-A-T-O.
Was your father Dr. Donato?
That's my grandfather.
Okay, good. No. Anyway, I just wanted to ask that.
That's
Thank
a
you.
young fella, Charlie.
I
Grandfather was a
I have a
client,
lot
he was
of
a client of
great-
mine about 30 years ago, so anyway, no.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Would anyone like to be heard on this? Yes, ma'am. Come on up.
Alright, my name is Tori Sanders. I'm the Communities and Transportation Project Manager at the Coastal Conservation League. Thanks for the opportunity to comment on the point in Governor's Cay. You know, we're not necessarily opposed, but we would like to see some changes that would help alleviate the inevitable traffic and also resilience concerns. You know, 55 residential units with no space for neighborhood serving commercial uses, traffic is going to be an issue. As the rest of Cainhoy is built out, the absence of small-scale retail, like corner stores, pharmacies, daycares, will force residents to drive for every single daily need. It'll directly cause traffic and just reinforce car dependency. Governor's Cay is not going to exist in isolation. There's over 100 existing homes further down Forest Drive, and they would also benefit from some essential services. And even if the developer is not ready to construct commercial space or whatever today, we were just, we'd like to encourage the recommendation that the developer maybe reserve some space for commercial use that would just specifically serve the neighborhood. The underlying general business zoning allows for that kind of flexibility. We believe that, a single well-placed lot could serve hundreds of households that are back here and just help reduce those short, repetitive vehicle trips that really put a burden on local infrastructure. Our other concern is that, while the project does meet the base stormwater requirements for the special flood hazard area, it does rely heavily on traditional impervious surfaces and a large detention pond. We just strongly encourage the incorporation of green infrastructure and techniques like permeable paving, bioswales, rain gardens, native vegetation. These are just, things that support the city's flood resilience goals and represent really minimal added cost at this stage. Finally, although CARTA does not currently operate in Berkeley County, it really goes without saying that the area is rapidly urbanizing and is already in desperate need of common sense traffic reducing measures. We would love to see if staff and the developer could work together to identify even just a small little potential future transit stop. Even though it wouldn't make sense necessarily for it to be constructed in this space, but just some little inkling of potential in the future. So, we know this subdivision has cleared TRC and, but, decisions at this stage obviously have long-term consequences. And we think that just without any piece of commercial use at this location, and other resilience strategies, I think this project will just become another isolated subdivision that adds more strain on our roads and the environment. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments, thank you. Anyone else here in opposition for this application? Ms. Harper, you surmised, there was a few written comments,
Yes.
could you quickly surmise any of those?
Absolutely, there were 4 comments and 2 of them pointed out our error. But the 4 comments, what they had in common is the main concern is traffic. And talking about how SCDOT needs to do a study on Clemens Ferry Road and how to improve signalization and more.
One of those first comments, he was concerned, he talked about 14.87 acres, so that was concerned. He must have been confused by
Yeah,
that.
that's what I said, it was an error on our part, the 14, it
Oh.
was 4, it's
Okay.
4, not 14.
Great, thank
There
you.
were 10 acres that disappeared.
All right, thank you, I don't want to cut you off, you finished?
No, that's
All right, great.
thank you.
Would the applicant like to respond to any concerns that were brought up?
Oh, I will tell you that we did have a traffic study done that's been submitted to the city. It's not requiring any off-site improvements at this time. And I don't know if this helps, but behind us is Governor's Cave, which is a PUD, which composes of 3 parcels. 2 of those parcels have been developed at this time. One of them for 36 single-family homes, and the other for 60 townhomes. Well, Governor's Cave actually was approved for 206 units. Well, the final piece of that puzzle of that PD is a 3-acre parcel that is owned by Beazer that is proposed, the last time I saw, is proposing 13 homes. So the Governor's Cave that was approved and their PD that was approved and traffic study that was approved is going to be way under what was initially thought by almost 100 units. So we feel like with that in mind and the fact that we've had our own study done, which is not recommending any additional improvements off-site, that we've done what we can for traffic.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan.
Thank you.
Thank you. That'll close the public aspect of this, Commissioner members. Ms. Lepson?
If Governor's K is actually a PD, then they would be required to have a commercial component in there. So
This is not Governor's
I
Cave.
understand that,
Mhm.
but he didn't, I mean, my question is that the case? Is that true?
It depends on when was it approved.
I think it was a PUD that was approved before that requirement was part of our lexicon.
Really?
So there was a time period where we were approving PUDs that had no mixed-use component. And I think that was in that era.
before the
It was
lit-
about
commercial
10 to
component.
15
Before the
years
case.
ago,
Yes.
something like that.
The lost, yeah.
Governor's K, we did that 15 years ago?
Oh, it's been a while.
Questions, comments, motions?
Well, I have one for Mr. Donato. Is that like something that's out of the question? I mean, to consider something like
I would
that?
just tell you that I mean, not, at the moment, yes, it's not, in our plan for this area. I don't view it as a great commercial area.
Right, no, I understand. I mean, it's not.
I mean, at this time, it's not an option.
I just thought I'd ask.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hussein?
I was just gonna move for approval.
Oh, okay. Motion by Mr. Hussein to approve.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Jackson, so.
Mr. Jackson.
for this, so.
Any other questions, comments? If not, all in favor, of the motion by Mr. Hussein, second by Mr. Jackson, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone in opposition? It's 9 in favor, none opposed. Thank you all for coming. Next one we have is ordinance amendments. Number 1 is request approval of amendment to chapter 54 of the Code of City of Charleston zoning ordinance in general to include changing the name. That's okay. What's called planning, preservation, sustainability, the planning and preservation, providing supervisor oversight to TRC process. Mr. Morgan.
Yeah, so what this is about is just some of the changes that Mayor Cogswell has instituted. You all know how Tim Keene was brought in as a section head. He's over planning, engineering, housing, building inspections, all those departments. And it made more sense because we haven't had somebody doing the sustainability aspect of city's work. That's moved to other areas of the city. That actually moved to other areas of the city a number of years ago. But it just made sense to update the name of our department to planning and preservation.
Great, thank you. Would anyone like to be heard on this? If not, that'll close the public aspect. Motions.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Lassane.
Second.
Second by Ms. Lepsis. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? 9 in favor, none opposed. Number 2, ordinance amendments as requested approval, chapter 54 of the Code of the City of Charleston, zoning ordinance by adding a new subdivision section 54-217 accessory uses to provide for standards specific in-ground and above-ground pools. I don't have a pool. Add clarifying language to new subdivision section 54-506, exceptions to setback requirements to allow elevated utility platforms to encroach within side and rear setbacks, and amend section 54-120 definitions, that a definition of pools.
So yes, so
Like a cement
as-
pond, a pool, right?
that's right. As the weather heats up and we get more people looking to put pools in their backyards and everything like that. No, we've been seeing a lot of pools now with the designs that happen with pools, having elements that go a little bit taller, things like that. We've realized that it's very different from the kind of traditional kind of in-ground pools. There's still lots of those, and there still are full above-ground pools, but what we're seeing is pools that have elements that go higher, and in the past, we have not had a way to deal with those. We've just said if it was a pool, it wasn't regulated from that standpoint, as long as it wasn't above a certain height. So now what we're gonna have is a requirement, and these are in front of you all in the packages. We give a full definition of pools and make them adhere to some of the setbacks depending on the height that they have. We have some imagery here. I hope you all were looking at these at home. Amanda put these together. I think they're very handsome little images of how we do in-ground and above-ground pools.
I think Ms. Lepsis says
how we would take better accounting for how these pools would be constructed and hopefully have less impact on adjoining properties by virtue of some of these setbacks that would be required. And then we also are looking at just the allowance. This is an ordinance amendment for the utility platforms and creating definitions and showing how the utility platforms need to meet some of those setbacks, but have some provisions that allow for them in a more regular basis instead of having to get a lot of variances.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Would anyone like to be heard on any of these topics? If not, that'll close the public aspect. Commission members?
So, move for approval.
Second.
Second by Ms. Ryan Jenkins.
I have one question. So hot pools, hot tubs. Is that in that? Is that?
Yes, hot tubs would be part of that.
Counts as a
Yes,
pool.
Yes, yes, because if you look at the definition.
That is a
we
hot
have here,
pool.
yeah. A structure intended for swimming, recreational, bathing, or wading that contains water over 24 inches deep. This includes in-ground, above ground, and in-ground pools, hot tubs, spas. There you go.
Okay, so that also incorporates those what is it? The steel drum, what is it that people are doing?
Ice baths.
The ice baths and the.
Oh, you mean like the horse trough type thing
Yeah,
or
that
whatever?
too. The cold
Yeah,
plunge.
yeah, the kind of simple little cold plunge, yeah. Those aren't constructed, I don't know if those would meet this definition. Because it's a structure. I don't know if those are considered.
I was thinking about it.
I don't know if those are considered structures. Yeah, we'd have to get an interpretation from the zoning administrator on that.
I do have a
So
question.
there's a motion by Mr. Singh, second by Ms. Bryant. I'm
I have a
sorry.
question. On above ground pools, that you said it cannot encroach into the setback. What do you
Correct.
exactly, do you mean one that's on a deck in an elevated home?
Yes, and there's a definition for what constitutes an above-ground pool. Is that above 36? The above ground, above ground?
Above pool is above ground, so anything that.
Yeah.
It's
Everything above
We have
ground.
to, we have to be very clear, that's why this is happening. So anything that exceeds, like it's not at grade, it's an.
Grade is, okay, so in elevation, so you have elevations of lots and then you have the grade in ground. So I guess I don't.
Okay, so there's a motion by Mr. Singh, second by Ms. Bryant Jenkins. You
And
had a
just
comment?
real quick, a spa is the same as a sauna? Is that a?
Well, no, a sauna is something different. Spas
Same as a
are
hot tub.
pools that have, water recirculating,
Okay,
foaming
okay,
water.
gotcha,
one
gotcha,
you had?
gotcha.
Yeah.
Never mind.
And so the sauna would be an accessory building.
Right.
Yeah, that's a
I
whole
just wanna
different
make
thing,
sure, okay,
yeah.
got it.
All right, so there's a motion by Mr. Sane, second by Mr. Brian Jenkins. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nine in favor, not opposed.
Thank you.
No, thank you all.
Thank you for,
I think I'm-
that will make our life a lot easier.
Okay, so I'm gonna take these zonings together. I think this one was deferred, the last one, the first two. we can take. I'm sorry, yes, ma'am.
You skipped the subdivision, which is why I've been here all day, and
I'm
you
sorry,
jumped ahead, and
which-
I didn't have a chance. So I was wondering if you weren't gonna, this was item here on your.
We
agenda.
approved it.
Yes, ma'am, we approved it. I asked if anybody wanted to comment on it.
Oh, I've been sitting here and I was waving my hand, perhaps I was over there.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see. If anybody saw you, apologize. We did approve it. We're glad to hear you. But if you wanna tell us what your concern or what, anything on that,
Okay, well,
it's going backwards, but I hate to, since you were
I did
here.
I did submit my comments, officially on
So we
the
did
site
read, I
as
think we
well.
did read some comments and surmise those, I'm sorry.
Which comment are you? Which, what?
So my comments were under Jody Harwell.
What's your name? I'm sorry.
Jody Harwell.
Oh, I got it right there. Yeah, and we read that. We did had that in front of us.
Okay, I got you. So did you approve it, just the concept plan or the entire subdivision?
We approved concept.
The approval is a concept plan only. They will have to come back to the technical review committee for a preliminary plat, which creates the lots, and for road construction plans. At that time, the review is a little more stringent for concept plans. So they will have to meet all the requirements for the city for road construction plans, for preliminary plat. So it will be, they
You
have to
probably
do more than
noticed-
just what you do for the concept.
Will we have a chance to comment again in that case?
Unfortunately, TRC is you can attend the meetings, it's a public meeting, but it's not a public hearing.
Can she send written comments in?
You can attend the meeting and you can submit questions that are of technical nature as to, like, why is this way or why is this the other way? Why are they not supplying or submitting, providing open space? Why are they not providing a turn lane or something like that? You can submit those comments. At the time of the meeting, there is an icon, it's a Zoom meeting, so you can attend from wherever you are. And you can submit your, as long as it's a technical question, it could be addressed at the time of the meeting, or it could be assigned to a reviewer.
And I think the engineer of that was Mr. Donato.
Yes.
So if you want to contact him too, I would recommend you do that, maybe with questions as well. And Ms. Harp can give you his contact information.
That would be great.
Thank you. I
Sorry.
apologize for not seeing you.
Yes,
Thank you
guys
for
did
coming.
so fast, I didn't see it. I've been sitting here since 5 o'clock.
No, I appreciate it. I'm sorry I didn't.
Would you like some snacks?
So the last, we're gonna go to zoning. We can take those two, 1 and 2 together, I believe.
We'll just delineate which ones are different zoning categories, so.
I thought they were saying, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. We'll take them separate. 1424 Agatha, West Ashley, .10 acres. It's, requesting SR2 is R4 in the county.
Yeah, and so here's an image of it, and we've got a lot of mix in that neighborhood, but SR2 is adjoining it, and so that is why it's recommended for SR2.
Great. Would anyone like to be heard on that? If not, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. Come on out. Good to hear from you.
Yeah.
Linda Blanchard, 2430 Silver Shores Drive. I'm gonna ask you, the single-family residential going to zoned residential R4, does that mean apartment?
Tell the difference. Mr. Morgan, would you tell the difference in those?
So it was R4 in Charleston County. That means 4 units an acre. And it would come into the city to our SR2 district. It's an existing house. So we're just bringing the existing house into the city. We're zoning it in the way that is most compatible with how the house is built and what the neighborhood is like. So it's going into SR2, which requires like a 6,000 square foot minimum lot.
So it's more.
It's on a lot that's about that size, right?
Yes, and it's an annexation, so
Yeah,
this is
it's an
the most
annexation.
comparable zoning to what it had in the county.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be a major change whatsoever.
If
but
not, it's more scrutinizing. It's a little tougher.
When they annex into the city, we have to assign every parcel a zoning in the city. So this is the closest that it was to what it could be in the city that it had in the county.
Right, so the structure's already there, here's an image of the structure, it's sitting there like that, and that's what's happening. It's being brought into the city and we have to zone it.
You have any other questions?
No, I was just wondering if it was going from
Thank you.
single family
That's a
to
good question.
multi-family.
No.
Anyone else like to be heard?
Got enough.
Motion?
Move for approval.
Mr. Bailey
Second.
moves for approval, second by Ms. Brian Jenkins. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone in opposition, that's nine in favor, none opposed. Last item on the agenda
Let's
is,
take these two together.
the last one's deferred.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I take 2173 St. James Drive, CMS number 343010098, 0.25 acres, it was SR1. I'm sorry, the request is only SR1, it's R4 in the county.
And again, SR1's the most compatible category with R4 if you've got the lot size for it in this instance, they do.
Thank you. Anyone like to be heard on this? Now hold now, forever hold your peace. Good to have you, man. Come back anytime.
This is on James Island.
Come back anytime. No, we enjoyed it. Ms. Brian Jenkins moves for, I'm sorry, do you have a question? Move for approval? Second, Mr. Jackson.
We're paying attention, we're paying
So
attention.
there's a motion by Ms. Brian Jenkins, second by Mr. Jackson. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great, thank you. That'll have it. Nine in favor, none opposed. Staff updates?
We don't have any at this time.
Okay, I think there's some meetings, or some public things going on.
There are some water basin meetings going on in May. We will have a table there. That's mainly talking about what improvements will be coming in the different basins around the city in reference to stormwater issues.
Great, thank you. Anything else, folks? If
There
not,
was
thank you.
something
I have to
here.
tell you real quick, to see if Mr. Burris here, 35 years ago, I was president of my fraternity at the College of Charleston. And we would take a treasurer's check from our fraternity, we would go to Burris, and he would give us cold kegs of beer. Different
You're over
time back
21.
then. Staring at that
There's a
man.
difference.
So what you're saying is you had a conflict of
It
interest?
brought back a lot of, those days are
You
gone
over
and over,
21.
but
When I was at the college, when you're 18, you could get the beer.